Someone is after someone's master DNA. These are celestial beings. And these demons or these demonic forces are trying to steal this master DNA that's you've inherited.
To 300,000 children a year just here in this country, and we drain the blood and we mix it with a Passover blood, and then we throw the bodies into the slaughterhouses that we own, and we grind up all the bodies in the sausage and the hamburger. McDonald's is one of our favorite outlets, and the people, they eat it for breakfast, they eat their children for lunch. That's very interesting. I understand it, but I also know the bloodletting. I know that on your Passover, which isn't mine, that a lot of little children do disappear, and I do know that, and I know a lot of police departments and agencies have been informed, but you're very open. You're very open tonight. I'm very surprised that you're talking about the bloodletting of the little children, that you put their blood in the matzo balls, and that you eat it on sacrifice on Passover. Well, there was a Goyim that wrote a book about it back in the 30s. I forget his name at the moment. But anyway, he wrote the book. People didn't buy the book. People don't want to listen. We've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years, since down to Adam's time. We take the children of our enemy, which is the white race, and we bring them to the basements in the synagogues, where we drain the blood and watch them die there. It's very similar to how we do the sacrifices that we do with the kosher butchering, and so we do that, and then we mix it with the Passover bread, and so we eat the blood of our enemies. And the bodies, we're not cannibals, so what we do is we take those, because we can make some shekels, and we give them to the slaughterhouses. And those are pounds and pounds and pounds of meat that we grind up in the sausage and the hamburger, and that's why we made those the most popular thing, sausage for breakfast and hamburger for lunch. And so all the Goyim out there are really eating their children. And even when we say this outright and tell you people, you don't believe it. So that's your problem.
Asking what's going to be with the Goyim when Mashiach comes. Will they be destroyed and annihilated? Someone asked, who cares? Okay. As a nation, they'll cease to exist, even as individuals. Every individual, no survivors. Not only as a nation, they'll cease to exist, even as individuals. As Goyim, they're gone. Their personality, as they exist bifnei atzmam, as they would exist independently of Klal Yisrael, they don't exist. They're done. In modern terminology, they call it cultural genocide. There's a term for it by the progressives. It's called cultural genocide, and they use the word genocide. So that's the opinion who says v'karka kol b'nei sheis that they'll be annihilated. They basically learn there's going to be cultural genocide. That you know what the goyim as they exist as goyim b'fnei atzmam, that's done with. Batul u'mavutul.
The reptilians came into this solar system many thousands of years ago. And there were already humans dwelling on a planet called Maldek, which was a huge planet between Mars and Jupiter. There was a human civilization there. And also there were humans on Mars. when the reptilians arrived, but there were no humans on Earth. They came in here, they destroyed Maldek. Maldek then became the asteroid belt, which we now know as the asteroid belt. And as they went by Mars, they stripped a lot of the air from the surface of the planet, and the humans on Mars had to go underground at that point. All of this was quite a long time ago. Basically, they took this planet and they towed another planet from a distant part of the solar system, the universe, to become our moon. They brought it here, and that's how the moon got here. And then they dried out our planet. They dried out Earth, which we call Earth now. And when they did that, two continents emerged from under the water. One was Lemuria, and one was what we now call Atlantis. And they had built a civilization on Lemuria. There were no humans here at that point. When they destroyed Maldek, the Federation, which was a federation of human civilizations throughout the galaxy, and it was formed really after the reptilians had slaughtered 50 million humans in Lyra and destroyed 3 planets. That was the event that triggered the creation of the Federation. It was basically the humans were fighting back, and there were about 100 human civilizations that became part of the Federation way back. It has since grown to well over 1,000, many more. And the Federation now has technology that matches the reptilians. So anything they can do, we can now do. They refused to let them have this planet. And they sent a very fierce race of humans from Lyra to Earth, and they took over what we call Atlantis. They were known as the Atlans, and so that became Atlantis. And then the wars began between the humans and the reptilians at that point, which was roughly right around 50,000 years ago. Okay. That was the only human race on this planet, was the one that came here from Lyra, and then from Mars. And they immediately started destroying the dinosaurs, which were brought here by the reptilians. And they started weakening the foundations of the Lemurian continent. Eventually, they were able to sink the whole continent with electromagnetic weaponry. And Lemuria went down. You can find stories about Lemuria in books about Mu, and certain writers. But the reptilians were not fazed by that. They simply went underground, which they do in many, many other planets, and built an underground civilization here, 20 to 100 miles below the surface. Very high tech, and they still have the capability of going in and out through various portals, and they established their capital city under the Tibetan continent. And they've been down there ever since, and we've been up here ever since. But the human race started to expand, started to develop, and grow, and now we're at 7 billion. So what they do is they basically manage us from down there, and they keep us from getting the technologies we really need to expand. And they control us, and you can read all about that in all the books by David Icke. He's written many. I think you know that, right?
Yeah.
And so he's probably the best writer on the reptilian situation.
And I know I'm going to rot in hell eternally for this, but...
Of Nicaea in 325 AD brought together Pharisees, Sadducees, people from, like people in control of large groups where they had to deal with this problem about what do we do with the records? We might not like each other, but we all have one common interest to make sure we win when the stellar activation cycle comes. So there was a book assimilated and created out of editing, twisting, and taking most of the guts out of the historical records. They use some of our records, they use some of the falsified records, these are the parts that will be compatible with the Qumran stuff, the Dead Sea Scroll stuff. And they created what we call the Bible. And as we know, the history from there has been absolute chaos, where the draconian, now what's interesting too, is you had the draconian versions, the draconian Leviathan races, which were became the Knights Gnosis, the Knights Malta. They became the push behind Catholicism. Then you had the Hyksos lines that became the push behind Protestantism. This is where you have the division between Catholic and Protestant. It's Dragon Anunnaki, as usual. It's like humans just never fit into this history here. We're watching wars go on between people who don't even belong here in the first place, and the people who do belong here think they're a part of it, and they don't know how to step outside of it because their own history is gone.
The TR-3B, called terrestrial UFO, more than a myth, is a reality and is seen several times in the sky. Confused with triangular UFOs, this ship generates a lot of controversy. In the year 1990, the inhabitants of New Mexico heard a roar in the sky, something unusual, and when looking up, a silhouette caught a glimpse of them. This figure was shaped like a triangle, and many think it was a UFO, but in reality it could be something much more incredible and created by humans themselves. The TR-3B aircraft is an outgrowth of secret programs in which the United States Air Force cooperated with NASA and other companies. These factories tested incredible aircraft with unimaginable characteristics. A proof of these projects we have in the great cover-up of the F-117 Nighthawk aircraft. In the end, the F-117 project was discovered and declassified, and later joined that of the U-2R aircraft. We know that the TR-3B had a predecessor known as the TR-3A, nicknamed the Black Manta, which appears to be more of a stealth fighter than an anti-gravitational craft capable of flying in space. It is itself one of the largest budget projects funded and operationally commissioned to aerospace contractors by the National Reconnaissance Office, the Office of Naval Intelligence, NSA, and the CIA, involving these four agencies together. According to military reports, it is known that the first operational tactical reconnaissance flight of the TR-3B was in the 90s. The TR-3A Sportster models were designed as a predecessor model, and later the TR-3B ASTRA model was designed and built by the Pentagon's military contractor Lockheed Martin Corporation and assigned to the DARPA project. Area S4 in Nevada was one of the largest test labs that served this development, among others. In relation to these developments in the private military aerospace industry, in a press conference, the president and CEO of Lockheed Martin, at the insistence of a question to the press about the achievements and developments in Area 51 by the corporation, stated, "Do not be surprised, but in that place we are achieving things as or more fantastic than those shown in the famous Star Trek series." According to testimonies offered by military pilots involved in the project, these spacecraft can incredibly reach lunar orbit in less than an hour. Knowing aircraft like the TR-3B will allow us to quickly see if the graphic document that we are analyzing represents a terrestrial device or a ship from other worlds.
You want the whole truth. You deserve the whole truth. So here's the thing. Find out who I am. And for those of you who know, and you're not saying anything, well, those golden tickets you have are really lined with lead. Because until the whole truth comes out, it's all just lies on both sides. So anyway, TikTok, have some fun with this. Find out who that man is with the silly curl on his forehead. I had forgotten I even had that curl for decades. Strangest thing, having your memories wiped out. Well, anyway. Take care, TikTok. Godspeed.
As far as the different Leviathan races and how they have progressively moved into the dominating force on this planet. They are the ones that control the politics here. They are the ones that control religion here. They are, and they have been since 9558 BC.
She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me, tender woman, Take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I have saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, heavens why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
Come check this, guys. Healing Web Part 1, starting in the upper left-hand corner. We're going to begin our search by focusing on these names, Carnegie, JP Morgan, and Rockefeller. In the 1930s, they effectively bought up all the universities and the medical industry. They controlled the WHO, the Red Cross, the USDA, the EPA, and the FDA. All these different government agencies are designed to keep us unhealthy. They're not designed to keep us healthy. Let's go over to Planned Parenthood. Right? Eugenics, Julian Huxley, and Planned Parenthood. What do they all have in common, guys? Look into the founder of this organization. Okay, sterilization, why? Caduceus, the staff of Hermes. This is the medical symbol, right? You see this in hospitals. He is the god of trade, trickery, and thieves. The Department of Defense. Why are they in charge of the CDC and the National Institute of Health? And what is Agenda 21? Things that make you go, Research, guys, research.
Listen to me. As the beginning of the restoration, as it begins, there shall be a woman that shall rise up, a woman that shall be strong in faith, virtuous, beautiful in eyes, and her eyes shall be so beautiful. Her eyes shall be round and big. I have crowned her, says the Lord, as I crowned Esther. And the people shall receive her, for she shall have the oil of gladness for the pain and the mourning that has taken place. And she shall pour out the oil. Is there some oil here, please? Marty, see some oil? She shall pour out the oil on this nation. And God says healing shall begin, and then it shall flow rapidly. Schools will be free from potential damage and danger, shootings and murder, drug addiction. Cartels shall be afraid of a woman anointed by God, a woman set aside. And God says they will say we hated her, but now we love her, for she shall take the oil of healing and she shall pour it upon the scars of those left and those right, and of the new party that has come forth and emerged, where they shall say, Christ will reign, and this we shall not implement at all socialism. Where they have said, we will make history without God. No, you will not. No, you will not.